How does a man wanted for attempting to assassinate a British viceroy become a celebrated figure in Japan, so loved that the emperor sends his personal coach to his funeral? The answer involves revolution, exile, and a bowl of authentic Indian curry that changed a nation's palate forever. To understand the revolution, Rash Behari Bose started in the kitchen. We must first understand the dish he was up against. Before his arrival, curry already existed in Japan, but it was not Indian. The story of Japanese curry, or curry rice, begins on the decks of the British Royal Navy. During the Meiji era in the late 19th century, Japan was rapidly modernizing, opening its doors to Western influence. British naval vessels brought with them a peculiar food designed for long voyages, a thick, stew-like meal they called curry. This British version was a distant echo of the food from India. It was a mild, slightly sweet concoction, thickened with a flour and fat roux, more akin to a European stew than a complex Indian dish. The Japanese Navy quickly adopted this yoshoku, or Western-style food, for a very practical reason. It helped combat beriberi, a vitamin B1 deficiency that had been a major problem for sailors. By the time Bose arrived, Japanese curry was a known, if not widespread dish. It consisted of a thick brown sauce, often containing beef, potatoes, and carrots, served over rice. It was the food of the military, a bland but functional meal. It had little to no connection to the regional cuisines of India. The man who would change this was born in 1886 in the small Bengali village of Subaldaha. From a young age, locals knew him as Rasu, stubborn and determined. His revolutionary education began in Chandanagar, a French colony near Calcutta, while he was studying at Dupleix College. There, the principal, Charu Chandra Roy, introduced him to revolutionary politics. For a teenage Bose, these were not just history lessons. They were blueprints, showing how ordinary people could overthrow empires. The final catalyst was the British partition of Bengal in 1905. The act of splitting his homeland in two convinced Bose that polite requests and peaceful protests were futile. He concluded the British would only understand one language: force. By 1908, he was already an active revolutionary, dodging the police. In Dehradun, he found the perfect cover by taking a job as head clerk at the Forest Research Institute. During the day, he was a quiet administrator. At night, he was a key organizer, building a network of rebels across northern India. His most audacious plan targeted the highest authority in British India. On December 12, 1911, the British officially announced the decision to move the capital from Calcutta to Delhi. A year later, on December 23, 1912, the Viceroy, Lord Hardinge, was scheduled to ride through the city's streets in a grand procession. Bose saw this as an opportunity to strike a blow that would shake the entire British Empire. The plan was meticulously crafted. Bose recruited Basant Kumar Biswas, a handsome 16-year-old, to throw the bomb. For months, they practiced in secret. On the day of the attack, as planned, Basant Kumar Biswas disguised as a girl, blending in with the women watching from the rooftops. The bomb exploded right at Lord Hardinge's elephant. The viceroy was seriously wounded and his attendant was killed. But here's where Bose's genius really shows. Instead of fleeing, he calmly boarded the night train back to Dehradun. The next morning, he showed up to work as if nothing had happened and even organized an event to publicly condemn the attack on the viceroy. The British never suspected the mild-mannered clerk was the mastermind of the entire plot. By 1915, Bose's luck was running out. The failed Gadar mutiny, a pan-Indian uprising he helped coordinate, led to mass arrests. The British launched a massive manhunt for him, offering a reward of 10,000 rupees. His revolutionary network was crumbling. India was no longer safe. On May 12, 1915, Bose walked onto a Japanese ship, the Sanuki Maru, with forged papers identifying him as Priyanath Thakur, claiming to be a relative of Rabindranath Tagore, India's Nobel Prize-winning poet. Who would suspect a relative of a celebrated pacifist of being a wanted revolutionary? The journey to Japan took 3 weeks. Bose spent those days knowing he could never return home. Behind him lay certain death. Ahead, a country he had never seen, whose language he did not speak. He arrived in Tokyo in June 1915, completely alone. He had no money, no connections, and no plan. The situation was perilous. Britain and Japan were allies under the Anglo-Japanese alliance. The British embassy was already pressuring Japanese authorities to find and deport him. But Bose had something more powerful than money, a compelling story of anti-colonial struggle. One of the first people he met was Sun Yat-sen, the prominent Chinese nationalist who was also living in exile in Japan at the time. Sun Yat-sen then introduced him to Mitsuru Toyama, the influential leader of the Black Dragon Society, a powerful pan-Asian nationalist group that believed Asian countries should unite against Western colonialism. However, its vision of unity was strongly intertwined with Japanese imperial ambitions. In November 1915, the crisis came. Britain delivered an ultimatum to Japan: deport Bose within 5 days or face diplomatic consequences. Toyama acted quickly. He arranged for Bose to go into hiding in the basement of a small bakery in Shinjuku. The Nakamuraya bakery was owned by Aizo and Koko Soma, a couple who shared Toyama's Pan-Asian sympathies. They risked everything to protect the fugitive in their basement. For 3 years, the bakery became Bose's secret world. He lived in the basement, constantly changing locations whenever British agents got too close. The Soma family's loyalty was absolute. Even the servants stood resolute in their loyalty, vowing to protect Bose at the cost of their lives. It was during this period of confinement that Bose met the Soma's eldest daughter, Toshiko. She was 19 years old, beautiful, educated, and completely fascinated by the mysterious Indian revolutionary living in her family's home. They fell in love, defying the strict social conventions of 1918 Japan. Mitsuru Toyama himself arranged their secret marriage on July 9, 1918. The ceremony was held at his house with no pomp or publicity. Toshiko traveled to the venue by tram in ordinary clothes, changing into a ceremonial kimono only at the last minute. Toshiko became Bose's bridge to Japanese society. She taught him the language, customs, and social hierarchies. Within just 4 years, he was writing books in Japanese and delivering lectures across the country. In 1923, through his marriage, he finally gained Japanese citizenship, giving him legal protection from the British. But this new life was soon struck by tragedy. In 1925, after only 7 years of marriage, Toshiko died of tuberculosis at the age of 28. According to accounts, on her deathbed, Toshiko, having embraced aspects of Indian culture, especially its spiritual practices, whispered old Indian prayers that Bose had taught her. Bose was devastated. He never remarried. He was left to raise their 2 young children, Masahide and Tetsuko, alone. Grief led Bose to the kitchen. During his hiding years, to combat homesickness, he had taught Toshiko how to cook authentic Indian curry. The Soma family had fallen in love with the rich, aromatic dish that was nothing like the bland British-style curry they knew. After Toshiko's death, Bose channeled his sorrow into helping his in-law's struggling bakery. 10 years later, when his mother-in-law, Koko Soma, urged him to remarry, he laughed at the idea and replied, "Mother, it is impossible to find Toshiko's love again. It is painful for me even to think of such a thing. I have my dear mother and father. That is more than enough. I am happy. Toshiko is always with me, as she was during my lovely 8 years in concealment. Moreover, my life is not mine. It is offered to my native country. I was and am satisfied to have had 8 years with Toshiko. That is more than enough." In 1927, they opened a small restaurant above the bakery. The main attraction was a dish they called Jun Indo Curry, aka pure Indian curry. The difference was revolutionary. Japanese curry was a thick, mild stew made with a pre-packaged block of roux. It was essentially British military food. Bose's curry was completely different. The chicken was simmered for hours until tender. The sauce was thickened with nuts and cream instead of flour. It was spiced with complex blends of cardamom, turmeric, and garam masala. The restaurant was an instant sensation. Despite costing 80 sen, 8 times more than regular curry, people lined up for hours. The aroma of authentic Indian spices wafted through Shinjuku, drawing curious crowds. The menu bears an interesting slogan: "The taste of love and revolution." The story of the Indian freedom fighter who married a Japanese woman and was now sharing his culture through food captivated the public. Bose highly valued authenticity. He personally selected the spices and supervised the cooking of his signature chicken curry to ensure its authenticity and taste, and he was known for tasting it every morning before it was served. The success was extraordinary. Within 12 years, the Nakamuraya company grew from a small restaurant into a corporation that went public on the Tokyo Stock Exchange in 1939. It was one of the first food companies to achieve this, proving that authentic ethnic cuisine could be big business. But for Bose, it was never just about money. It was cultural diplomacy. Every plate of curry served was a small act of resistance, a way for Japanese people to experience Indian culture directly, without a Western filter. According to the book, Bose of Nakamuraya by Takeshi Nakajima, his authentic Indian recipe was a form of anti-colonial resistance, an attempt to reclaim India's culinary identity from British domination. The restaurant became known as the Nakamuraya Salon, a gathering place for Tokyo's intellectuals, artists, and writers. Bose would hold court there, speaking fluent Japanese and explaining India's struggle for independence. When Second World War erupted, Bose saw his chance. With Japan now fighting Britain, they were natural allies. In 1942, he organized the Tokyo Conference, which led to the establishment of the Indian Independence League. In the same year, the Indian National Army, INA, was formed from Indian prisoners of war captured by the Japanese in Southeast Asia. Mohan Singh, a former captain in the British Indian Army who was designated a general in the INA, served as its first commander, while Rash Behari Bose provided political leadership and coordination. But Bose knew he was too old to lead a military campaign. In 1943, when the younger, more charismatic revolutionary Subhash Chandra Bose escaped from British custody, Rash Behari made a remarkable decision. He voluntarily handed over leadership of the entire INA to the younger Bose. It was a selfless political act. He understood that his ego was less important than India's freedom. The organization he built became the foundation for the expanded army of Subhash Chandra Bose. Final years of Bose were marked by illness and personal tragedy. His son Masahide died fighting for Japan in the Battle of Okinawa in 1945. Bose himself was dying of tuberculosis, listening to radio broadcasts about the INA's progress from his hospital bed. A memorable story is often told about final weeks of Bose in the hospital. When his doctor asked about his appetite, Bose replied with his characteristic humor, "How can I have an appetite when the nurses don't allow me to have the food I most desire?" He was referring to the Nakamuraya curry, the dish that had become his greatest gift to his adopted homeland. Rash Behari Bose died on January 21, 1945, just 2 years before India gained independence. In a final, unprecedented honor for a foreigner, the Japanese emperor sent his personal coach for the funeral procession. Today, the Nakamuraya restaurant still operates in Shinjuku, serving Bose's original recipe. It is one of Japan's most successful food businesses. Vintage photographs of Bose, Toshiko, and the Soma family still hang on the restaurant walls. His authentic curry did more than launch a successful business. It educated Japanese palates, laying the groundwork for the country's thriving Indian restaurant scene. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure to like and share the video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel for more interesting videos ahead.